Hi there, Jean Greer here at Stylish Fireplaces with some help on controlling your AllureVision Slim electric fireplace from Napoleon. It's very similar to the Napoleon AllureVision Deep. The control panel is identical. The remote will be slightly different because there are fewer features on the AllureVision Slim. So let's start with the control panel. The touchpad is on the lower right corner of the fireplace. I have power, and then I have orange flames. I can control the brightness. I have blue flames, I can control the brightness. And I have heat. So here I can turn on the blower first, and then I have a low level of heat, and then I have a higher level of heat with a boost on the blower. If I want temperature control, I'm going to go back to my blue flame button, hold it for 5 seconds, and then it will allow me to change the temperature and have an actual thermostat with the touchpad. Otherwise, there isn't a thermostat button here, so holding the blue button down for 5 seconds will make it the thermostat. The other thing I can do with the orange flame button is change from Celsius to Fahrenheit or back. So I pressed it for 5 seconds and it changed from Celsius to Fahrenheit. If I want to go back to Celsius, I would hold it again. And as long as that blue flame button is controlling temperature, it's not going to control the flame. If I want it to control the flame color again, I'm going to hold it for 5 seconds, and then it's going to give me control over my blue flame. So a little bit of a tricky double effect with the flame buttons. So they have multiple options using the flame buttons. Back to heat for a minute. If I want to heat lockout, I'm going to hold that wiggly line button for 5 seconds, and that's going to give me a heat lockout, LO for lockout. So that means if somebody accidentally touches the touchpad, like little kiddos, or somebody in a public space is going to play with that touchpad, they cannot accidentally turn on the heater because I've now locked it out. And if I want it back, I'm going to hit that heat button again, and I'm going to hold it for 5 seconds and get my heat back on. So that's how you lock out the heat button for those who might touch it inadvertently and control the heater when you don't want the heat controlled. And then last but not least, we have the ability to change the lights underneath the flame. So I'm changing those colors on the crystal bed and changing those colors. The AllureVision Slim does not have down lighting. So we don't have a light shining down from above, so there isn't a control for that on the control panel, nor was there a control for that on the AllureVision Deep because it doesn't exist on the Slim and they use the same control panel. Now if I go to my remote control, it looks very similar to an AllureVision Deep remote control. So I have my power button, so I can turn the fireplace on and off, and it does have a fade out feature, so it takes a second. Turn it back on. I have blue, orange, and yellow flames down the center there, so I can control the blue flames. I can control the orange flame. So far that's the same as the touchpad. What's different on the remote is that I also have control over a third color flame, which is the yellow flame. And with Napoleon, it's a layered flame effect. So to get the fullest flame, I want both the orange and the yellow, and if I like blue, I'm going to put the blue in there. But I'm going to get a fuller effect with the remote if I'm using both the orange and the yellow flames. And as I take one of those away, the flame becomes a little less full. So that's why you have 3 flame colors down the center there. You want to use at least 2 of those to get a nice full flame effect. I have thermostat control right here on the remote. So when I turn the heater on with the wiggly line, I'm going to get the same effects I had with the touchpad. So blower first, heat on a low setting, heat with a blower boost. If I want actual temperature control, I'm going to use the thermostat button and I'm going to set my temperature. And I can go up to about 82 degrees before it will cycle off again. So it has a bunch of preset temperatures that I can cycle through, and I can use a thermostat on the remote itself, so I don't have that double function with the flame buttons that I need to use on the touchpad. And then I have a brightness button. The brightness button is for the lights. That's this little star. That's for the lights at the bottom. So I can change the color of those lights, and then I can change the brightness of those lights and how visible they are just by hitting that star button at the bottom. So something else that I wasn't able to do on the touchpad that I can do on the remote control. And then we also have flame speed, which wasn't on the touchpad, but which is on the remote. So I can cycle through. The flame with the swish is the flame speed. So something else that the remote can do. So with this fireplace, the remote has many more functions and they're more obvious. I don't have that need to press a certain secret combination of flame buttons to get a function. It's obvious on the remote. So it is nice and easy to use that remote. And it's pretty intuitive in terms of the instructions. Any lockout features, though, are going to be on the touchpad. So heat lockout isn't available on the remote. You do need to use the touchpad for that. And likewise, if you want to change from Celsius to Fahrenheit and back, you're going to use the touchpad controls for that. All of the instructions for any of the fireplaces will always be in the owner's manual. So in this case, I've got my owner's manual from Napoleon, and then there's always an operating section inside the manual for both the touch controls and the remote controls. And if there's an app, there would be instructions for the app as well. So always look for your owner's manual. And if you don't have yours any longer, it would have come with the fireplace. We all lose them. Go to stylishfireplaces.ca, look up the model that you have, and always on our product descriptions you will find an installation tab that will get you to the owner's manual, and then you can just download that and have a good look at it and find your instructions. So again, this is the Allura Vision Slim from Napoleon, and you can see more details about this at stylishfireplaces.ca.